Now, I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, Cohen Kunis, the CEO and Executive Director of VoteRiders. For anyone who isn't familiar with VoteRiders, they are a nonpartisan organization that helps eligible voters understand their voter ID requirements and get the identification they need to cast their ballot. That's a huge part of why we're working with them in our letter writing campaign. Lauren has spent her career working to strengthen democracy and expand civic participation, both here and in the United States and around the world. She has led VoteRiders since 2021, and in 2024, the Time magazine named her one of its inaugural democracy defenders. Lauren, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Samantha, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. I think anyone who is taking time out of their Wednesday to learn more about how they can make a difference in getting eligible voters to the polls this November is my kind of person. So thank you guys for showing up and all you do. Samantha and I are going to tag team a little bit today throughout a slide deck that she has prepared, but I thought I would just sort of kick it off with a little bit of an introduction to VoteRiders, the work we do, how our letter writing campaigns fit into that work. And the difference that we can all make together. So, as Samantha noted, VoteRiders is a national voting rights organization focused on the issue of ID. So our mission is to eliminate ID barriers to the ballot box so every single eligible voter can cast a ballot successfully, ensuring that it counts. So we were founded in 2012. VoteRiders was actually, fun fact, founded in honor of the Freedom Riders. We derive our name from the Freedom Riders, but relevant to our letter writing campaigns, I've heard some people say vote writers. Which I think is a cute spin on it, certainly relevant for our conversation today. So we do work nationally, but have teams on the ground in 7 states: Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. And our letter writing programs are an additional layer of voter outreach as part of those on the ground programs. Our work cuts across a few different buckets. One is voter education. It is incredibly confusing out there right now to figure out what ID you need to successfully register and vote. Everything is different in different states depending where you live. So our goal is to have accurate, up-to-date, trusted resources on changing ID rules. We also provide free one-on-one assistance to any eligible voter who needs help getting an ID to cast a ballot. So this includes everything from making an appointment at the DMV to covering the cost of transportation to get there to paying the fees associated with getting a license. For some cases, we need to do work with pro bono attorneys to order a birth certificate, to do a legal name change. We do everything soup to nuts to make sure that everyone has the ID that they need to vote. Our voter outreach programs are a big part of this work. We send election reminders and ID requirement reminders via letter, via text, and via phone call all year round to make sure that people know what they need to vote successfully where they live, and also so that they know about our free help services. So if they don't have what they need, we work with them one-on-one to get it well ahead of election day. I often say that we punch way above our weight because of the extent to which we enlist volunteers as part of that mission. So really glad to be in conversation with all of you today. I am happy to turn it back to Samantha now, but I can answer questions in the chat and as we go along. The final thing I'll just say is that I feel like I say this every year, but it's true every single year. So much is at stake this November, and it is going to take all of us doing what we can to make sure that people can turn out in big numbers and that the people who turn out represent all of us, that we have a diverse and inclusive and representative electorate. Our work at VoteRiders has never been more important. There are more voter ID laws in place than ever before. There is a ton of misinformation swirling around about the ID you do or don't need to register and vote. And we're just so grateful for the thousands of volunteers, including all of you, who work with us as part of this mission every single day.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Okay, I think we're ready to start the slide deck. So There'll be time at the end of this call for everyone to unmute and share their questions. But for now, if any questions come up while I'm presenting, please just write them in the chat. So we're starting something new. Our 2026 letter writing campaign is officially underway, and I want to start by explaining why we're continuing to do this work. We know that letters can move voters, but we also know we have to be strategic about how we use them. This year, we're building on what's worked in the past and finding new ways to reach out to even more voters. Where we stand. So these are just a couple of the statistics on how much of an impact both VoteRiders and VoteForward, which is a similar organization we've worked with, has reached out to people. So BigTent in the past has written 10,000 plus letters as a community of everyone working together that's part of BigTent. And this year, just from this summer of 2026, we've written over 1,000 letters to all of the states that are listed on our VoteRiders. And it's so impressive. And we thank you all so much for helping with all this outreach. So as I mentioned, we work with both Vote Forward and VoteRiders. And there's a little bit of a difference between the two. Vote Forward is focused on turnout and encouraging people who may not regularly vote to actually cast a ballot. VoteRiders, I'll turn it back over to Lauren.
Sure. So at VoteRiders, because our mission is getting people the ID they need to vote, our letter writing is very focused on that issue. We get lists of eligible voters across our 8 top priority states listed below: Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. And we filter not by any partisan label, but we filter by the communities that we know are most likely to lack the ID they need to vote. So this includes a lot of young people, students, low-income individuals, Black and Brown communities. We also file open records requests to get hyper-targeted lists of people who, for example, cast a ballot in the last election that was rejected because they didn't have the right ID. So our letters talk about the ID you need to register and vote where you live, and also share our contact information so people can reach out to us if they need help getting ID. We don't have any strict window for sending, and this is because ID needs are evergreen. They are every day, every month of every year, including ahead of elections, but not limited to that. It can sometimes take weeks or months to work with people to order a birth certificate, then to get an appointment at the DMV. So we like to pound the pavement, so to speak, as early as we can and on an ongoing basis, which is why our letter writing is a great opportunity to reach out to voters year round and help them get the ID they need to vote early. One final important note that I think is very unique about our work at VoteRiders is helping someone get an ID opens up their right to vote, but it also oftentimes helps them get a job in the formal sector for the first time, or open a bank account, or get stable housing for their family. So our work is so important in improving voting access, but also touching on economic and social justice across the different states we touch.
And just to clarify quickly, today everyone has received VoteRiders if they were to request letters from me. However, if you would like to request Vote Forward letters as well, you're more than welcome to do that after this call, and I'll send them your way. But the difference between how you send them out we'll explain later. However, Vote Forward does have a strict window as shown on the slides. Now we'll get into why these states. So for each campaign, it's targeted very intentionally. Vote Forward's campaign is we only work with Pennsylvania, which even small increases in turnout can truly matter. BigTent is a nonpartisan organization, and for Vote Forward, this is the one state that they write the letters fully nonpartisan.
And for VoteRiders, we choose our states based on where there are restrictive ID laws in place, especially states where there are new ID laws in place. Almost every single one of the 8 states that we're writing to this year has changed their ID requirements for voting since 2021 alone. So huge need to get sort of the right information to the right people at the right time so that they can cast a ballot that counts.
And this is just a little bit more on Vote Forward, but it applies to all letter writing as to why letter writing actually makes a difference. So Vote Forward as an organization tracks and has studies on how their letters actually work, as you can see based on the points and statistical turnouts on this slide. So we know that the work that we're doing is actually making a difference.
And at VoteRiders, we're also excited to share that our letter writing is making a difference and will continue to do so in this critical time. We wanted to pull out a case study of our work in Texas from 2022. This is a great example of the way in which, when a new ID law passes, we combine open records requests with targeted voter outreach to see an immediate difference. So Texas implemented new ID rules for mail-in voting in 2021 that were implemented for the first time in 2022. The result was that in their primary election, an enormous amount of mail-in ballots, I think it was 8 times the previous high rate for mail-in ballots, were rejected because of this new ID law. So thousands of voters disenfranchised because of a new law they weren't aware of and could not comply with. We filed an open records request, got a list of every single one of those rejected mail-in ballots, contacted the people who cast their ballot unsuccessfully. We touched them with letter writing and text messages between April and October 2022. Very excited to share that stunning percentage of them, 92% and 87% respectively for letter writing and text banking, cast a ballot successfully in November after having failed to do so in March. So a great example of sort of combining targeted records requests with a new law being implemented and very strategic and time-sensitive outreach to make a big difference ahead of the next election. I love numbers. Our team loves numbers, but I think it's really important to also think about the fact that behind every single one of those numbers is a real person who, if they don't receive support from VoteRiders in many instances, would not be able to participate in the democratic process. So we have a Georgia voter on the slide here. This is Keith. Sylvester Johnson, who many of you know and hopefully all of you will know soon. He is our voter outreach manager. He's in the chat today. But a very fun story that I love is Sylvester, who lives in Georgia, met Keith at the DMV. Keith was part of our letter writing campaign. He was on the list of, so in Georgia, for example, our open records requests ask the state of Georgia to cross-reference the DMV database, so people who have a license or state ID, with the voter registry. And they send us a list of voters who are registered to vote but don't have an ID on file with the state and won't be able to cast a ballot. So we wrote a letter to Keith, a volunteer just like all of you, sent him a letter. Keith reached out to VoteRiders. We helped him get the ID he needed. And when he met Sylvester at the DMV, actually brought the letter, you see him photographed with it there, that a volunteer had written to him. So it's a very sort of powerful example of behind every single one of these numbers is a person whose voice would not have been heard, but who we were able to support in getting to the polls.
That's such a meaningful story. Thank you so much. Um, I wanted to go over as to why we handwrite letters over phones or in-person. I've been working with the letter campaign with BigTent this whole entire summer and also in 2024. So there's so many ways to reach out to voters. Phone calls and texts are an easier, quicker solution, and in-person canvassing takes so much time and energy out of your day. However, handwritten letters are so extremely personal, and you're able to add your own touch to all of it. However, you can do it from sitting in your own home, and you can write so many letters just within a few days, and it truly does make an impact, as we've seen with Lauren's story. So this goes back to the scale of what VoteRiders has reached. It kind of touches on it and goes back to what we spoke about Vote Forward. So this is the statistical data of how many people VoteRiders has reached. And as Lauren said, we do love numbers. However, there's both the meaningful story and the detailed numbers of how many people we're actually reaching out to. And it's truly impressive how so many just volunteers are able to reach such a wide scale of people. So, Lauren, you can help me out with this, but this is listing out how you would request letters. So I'll start with how it works for BigTent. So as most of you have likely already done, but if you haven't, you're more than welcome to in the coming weeks. How it works at BigTent is you request an email to me and you state if you're requesting VoteRiders or Vote Forward, the state you want, and how many letters you want. So how I've done in the past is you request in packets of 10, so multiples of 10 letters. And then once you receive the materials, I send you an email with how everything should be done, and you print out the attachment I send, and you write your letters and mail them out. And yeah, it's all written out here, but you address them and send it out just like any other letter. And the difference with Vote Forward is that there will be a timestamp as to when you can send it. So as you see in step 6, you have to send them out from September 30th to October 23rd. You're more than welcome to request these letters at any time from now until then. However, you need to save sending them out until then. Okay, what you can write on the letters. Lauren, you can take over this.
Yes. So our goal is to make letter writing as simple as possible and a positive experience. I will say this is a great activity because you can do it on your own time. I always like to plug doing it with friends to make it even more fun. But you know, our letterheads come pre-printed with all of the voter ID information already on it. There's a little bit of blank space at the top. And we encourage everyone to keep it personal. It can be very short and sweet. Just identify yourself as a volunteer and encourage folks to check the ID rules where they live, reach out to VoteRiders for free help. And we like to always encourage folks to put a positive can-do spin on voting. It can feel complicated and intimidating, especially in this environment. But we are really optimistic that these handwritten letters can be a helpful nudge in getting people to cast their ballot. And yeah, our we are a 501(c)(3) organization. So an additional plug, in addition to what Samantha already shared, to please keep these nonpartisan.
Yes. And just a little note from BigTent, as Lauren stated, you're more than able to do all of this on your own and on your own time, but it makes it that much better if you bring friends along with you and have letter writing parties in your house or request big batches of letters and just bring any of your friends for a lunch to sit down and write letters together, and then they can start doing it on their own too. So, as I just mentioned, spread the word. And even if you're not sitting down with your friends and writing, just tell them about the positive experience you've had writing and how you've learned about what an impact it's made. Keep writing and requesting. I'll be sending out letters until whenever you need them. And just send me an email anytime, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible with a letterhead packet for you to print out. And just again, enforcing, make sure you send this out to your friends as well and family and share the importance of letter writing and how easy it is for them to get involved. Then, lastly, this is just if you want to join our mailing list or sign up for other events. I'm going to give everyone a minute to scan the links, and then we're going to get into time to ask questions and just do independent letter writing. But I'm going to give everyone a minute in case they want to scan these links.
There are a couple questions in the chat that it might be helpful for me to answer for the group. The first one is from Ketzel, who said, did Lauren say their letters are pre-printed and we just add a note? That's correct. Samantha will send you the file for the state you've selected for letter writing. There's a little bit of white space at the top, and you just print out the letterhead, write a quick note at the top, put it in the mail, and you are good to go. The second question was about timing. It was from Jay Steedle, um, who said, can we write letters ahead of time and then mail them in the September-October period? Absolutely. You know, because our letters are ID access focused, we do send these year round because, as I noted, sometimes it can take a while to get the ID you need to vote. That being said, if you prefer to send them in September, that's absolutely fine with us. We usually cut off letter writing a couple weeks before Election Day just to make sure that everything gets there. And when we connect with voters, we're able to help them in time ahead of Election Day. So if you are going to look at the September-October period, I would put in a quick plug to do it at the earlier end of that window if you can. Any letter is excellent at any time, but the sooner we can get sort of free help offers out to at-risk voters, the better.
And just to clarify, on Lauren's point, The September October send out period specifically is for Vote Forward, which is the other organization that we also work with. However, you're more than welcome to send out those Vote Riders letters with them as well. The difference is if you were to request Vote Riders or Vote Forward, then you'll get the information on sending them out. So, for example, for Vote Riders in the email that we attach, it'll say you can send these out anytime. And in the Vote Forward email, it'll say the exact window of when you can send them out. Okay, so how the format of the rest of this call will go is everyone has the opportunity to turn their cameras on and make this kind of like we're hosting a letter writing party. And if you want to ask a question out loud, you're more than welcome to. However, we would ask you to please use the raise hand function on Zoom, which is found at the bottom of your screen, and we'll state your name, and then you can feel free to unmute. Even if you don't have a question, you just have a comment, you're more than welcome to do this for the next 30 minutes while we all write together. And additionally, obviously, we'll still be checking the chat. So as you are all writing, we will be answering questions out loud that come up in the chat as well. If you're confused what I mean about all writing, a bunch of people requested letters prior to this call through my email and printed them out as time to write this all together. But if you have not already done so, you can take the time to request the letters to my email, which I will put in the chat, and also look on their websites, and I can try and send out some letters before we get off the call. Just a reminder to repeat anything. If you want to unmute, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Raise your hand, the button, not physically. Yes, Joan.
Yeah, I was a couple of things. I requested letters and they haven't arrived yet, so I won't say for the letter writing part. But recently in the mail there was a snafu at the DMV, and people got sent out letters saying that they were eligible to vote or they're registered to vote, and they weren't. And so how legit, how can you be sure that the list that you have are real people that are in fact eligible to vote?
I can answer from the VoteRiders, and we pull our lists from two sources. One is open records requests, as I mentioned before. We file strategic and targeted records requests with state secretaries of state. And they pull that information from their own voter rolls. Part of our outreach is always check to make sure you're registered. So that is sort of a first level of verification that we encourage folks to do, knowing that voter rolls are always shifting around. We also pull through a sort of database that many of you are familiar with, likely called VAN, that pulls for registered voters. We filter for the communities that are most likely to lack an accepted form of ID, but I feel quite confident that the voters we're reaching are eligible, but the support from VoteRiders to get the ID they need will be ideally a difference maker in turning them from eligible voters to active voters who do get out there and cast a ballot.
And just on your point on not receiving letters, make sure that you send it to my correct email, which is on the slide right now. If you could take a quick picture, and I'll be sure to send them to you by the end of the day. I'm more than happy to send out letters. I'll be checking my email consistently throughout the day, and I apologize if I haven't gotten to you yet. Marilyn?
Okay, hi. I really don't have a question. I have a couple comments. One is that I hear a lot of times people saying, what's the big deal? Having an ID is a great idea, but I don't think people really understand that it has to be the right ID, and that some people have so much difficulty in getting the right ID. And I think it's important to point that out to people. I've read stories, well, you put them out a lot, but I read stories years ago about, someone who didn't have any credit cards, didn't have a car, had to take a whole day off from work, didn't get paid, had to take a bus, showed up, didn't have the papers she needed to get what she needed. And, it's stuff like that. I mean, just on the surface, having an ID is a good idea, maybe, but there's a lot more to it. That's one thing. Second of all, I personally would like to thank Samantha Cohen for sending me the letters, and I made it to this meeting after all. I didn't get to my doctor's appointment, which is fine. And Sylvester Johnson is the bomb, I swear. He has helped me out so many times. And I just think you're a great organization. Now, I do have a question that's off the topic. And if you tell me, go away, shut up, don't talk to me about that now, that's fine. Um, I think there's a position called helpline volunteer. And I want to know if there's someone I can speak to about it instead of trying to do it through just email. Is that possible, or am I just off the topic too much?
Yes. No, perfect. Totally on topic. Lots of different ways you can volunteer and support VoteRiders for our work. If you send an email to volunteer@voteriders.org, we can get our helpline manager on the phone with you. Her name is Ailey Brumley, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
voter
Okay.
the voter ID helpline that we operate 24/7 is ringing off the hooks these days with people confused about if the SAVE Act is the law, confused about changing requirements in their state. We need folks to answer calls, respond to text messages, and our training helpline volunteers on an ongoing basis through November. So yeah, we would love to talk with you more about that
So
opportunity.
what is the what's the address that I should send it to again?
Uh-huh. Volunteer at voteriders.org.
Okay,
Um,
that's easy.
and
Thank
if
you.
you can copy Sylvester, who, to your point, is the bomb, no one is going to dispute you on that. Sylvester can make sure to connect you to our helpline manager, Ailey.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Um, and just to your first point, completely agree. You're preaching to the choir with me, as you might guess. But the challenges that many of our fellow citizens face in getting an ID are a very powerful ballot box barrier for millions of Americans. At VoteRiders, we're really invested not just in the sort of like on the ground voter engagement, getting people the ID information and documents they need. We're also focused at the same time on the long game, making sure that we invest in research to share the scope of the problem we're trying to solve for. Some of you probably saw the research we released in 2024 that showed 34.5 million voting age American citizens don't have an ID issued by their state government with their current name and address on it. You probably also saw the research that we commissioned with the University of Maryland on who lacks proof of citizenship. So, like the birth certificate or passport that some folks are trying to require to even register to vote. We found that nearly 1 in 10 voting age American citizens, 21.3 million people, didn't have easy access to proof of citizenship like that. But, to your really good point, Marilyn, we're always trying to pair those eye-popping numbers with human impact stories. And you're right that we invest a lot in sort of the storytelling piece of our work, sharing the stories of people like Keith or the people like many that you'll see on our website, who, for lots of different reasons, didn't have the specific form of ID that their state requires to cast a ballot. And we helped them demystify that process. We covered all costs and unlocked their ability to have a voice.
Thank you.
Paula?
Okay. Hello, I'm Paula Van Meter. I live in upstate New York, and I'm looking forward to this. I have sent postcards in the last two elections, and I just felt really good about it. I have no idea if I influenced anybody, but at least I was doing something. So I think this is great. My only request is I liked some of the language in the sample letters that you put up, but I didn't get to completely copy them. Will you be showing them again this morning, and or could you send a copy out?
Yes, definitely. So we can definitely put it up on the slides right now. And in addition to that, we can post this exact slideshow on our website or send out an email, as well as if you request it, I can share it with you personally. And there's also a few comments in the chat asking on how to request letters. So my email is in the chat. And you're more than welcome to reach out whenever, even if you want to do it right now, and send me a letter request. All you need to do is say how many letters you want and for what state you want. There's the 8 states that we listed for VoteRiders and Pennsylvania for Vote Forward. And yeah, that's how you request. So all you have to do is send an email and what you want, and I'll send the letter packets your way.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Barbara?
So I requested a package of letters, and I have the information and I have the names, but I don't see the letter template. Is this something we should be printing out, this template, and then adding our own notes to it? I'm just a little confused about that. Or did you want us to write everything by hand?
So there should have been 3 attachments in the email. Sometimes it's easy to miss them. And one of the 3 attachments is what you should print out. Lauren, you can explain a little bit on what it should look like. And I can also resend anything to you if you think that you're missing one of the attachments.
Yeah, so looking at it, the attachments that I have are VoteRiders, and it talks about the voter ID rolls, the 2026 midterm election. Then I have a list of names and addresses, and then I have what almost looks like an Excel spreadsheet of names, but I don't see a template form for a letter unless what's in VoteRiders is what I'm supposed to use.
So on the VoteRiders end, the 8 by 11 sheet that you print out, the top part is where we ask volunteers to put a short personal note on it. What's on there is one example, but that's a lot of text for a small amount of white space. So feel free to just sort of say, get out there and vote, make your voice count.
Okay, so you
VoteRiders
want to
for free
give the voter all this information. Wisconsin requires photo ID to vote, voting in person, you must show an accepted ID. You
Yes.
want all of that to go. Okay, so I printed that out. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry for the
Yes.
confusion.
Yes. So Sylvester, because he's the bomb, just dropped a link to our letterhead. So you can see there, and someone asked a question on this earlier in the chat, like why letter versus postcard? For us, as you can see, we list all of the voter ID rules for a given state in terms of what accepted ID you can bring to the polls. I have Arizona pulled up here, thanks to Sylvester, which is a particularly complicated one. But that's the kind of information that is very granular and very important and would never fit on a postcard. So that's why we use letters. And then the space at the top is just to sort of grab people's attention and show that this is a peer-to-peer sort of outreach and free help offer.
And I saw that, Lauren, that you replied to Susie's question of why mail is the preferred way in chat. Do you mind just sharing that out loud as well?
Yeah, cool. Thank you for the question. And hi, Susie. Good to see you. So for us at VoteRiders, we use lots of different ways to meet voters where they are, whether that is at home, opening the letter, whether it is on TikTok, whether it is at the food bank in their community. So for us, it's really a both and thing. So we do lots of letter writing. We also send millions of targeted text messages. We do content creator partnerships. We do paid advertising on social media platforms. We do PSAs on radio and movie theater. We also do lots of on the ground community organizing work to meet voters at sort of service delivery touch points like schools and food banks and shelters, for example. So it's really, we can sort of use folks to support our work in whatever way makes the most sense to you, what is most sort of convenient for you. I forgot to mention phone banking, but we're doing phone banking as well this cycle. Letter writing is a very effective way of reaching voters. It's very unique in that, I have a Pennsylvania cell phone. I can tell you the closer it gets to election time, it is just blown up with text messages constantly. So letter writing can be sort of a unique way to break through the noise. It's very rare to get a handwritten letter these days. But for us, it's really one tactic out of many that we use to reach as many voters as we can, where they're already accessing information about voting.
And in your comment, you also mentioned, Susie, that young voters, it might be harder to reach them through letters. Personally, I'm the youngest voter possible, and I do still read all my mail. And personally, a lot of time when I get spam calls or texts, they go straight to my junk and I don't see them at all. But my mail I normally think of as more important and I look through it all pretty carefully. So when I receive something handwritten, especially, I like am keen and make sure I really, really read it. Margie?
Here I am. I'm in Colorado, and I have hold postcard writing parties twice a month with lots of my friends. So I've really involved in writing. I'm really, I have to say, disappointed in the example that you just gave of what we could write on the letter from VoteRiders. I just tried it, and I barely got two sentences in that space. It makes me very disappointed that you guys don't really understand what we all go through in printing and writing to get all this right. And so I just wish that you were more on task with what is possible to put in that small message up at the top, something like voting is important and make sure you're registered, right? Is that what we're talking about here? And if you need help, contact voteriders.org.
Yes, no, thank you for that feedback. Voter ID laws are very complicated, and sometimes it requires a lot of text, especially if you are looking at Arizona, to get the important information on there. I think everyone has different handwriting styles, and I just signed a million letters myself, and it can be tiring. So feel free to put a nonpartisan message in there. That works for you. And the important thing there is that it's getting someone's attention. They see it as a fellow voter reaching out to them, asking them to make sure they're ready to vote in November.
And what's
And
shared on the screen right now is just an example of parts of what you can write. So you can take little sentences from this, or you can write something completely on your own as long as it's nonpartisan. There's no expectation to write all of this. Definitely not.
another question of mine is, why does it have to be totally nonpartisan? Are are the addresses that we're sending totally nonpartisan, or are they addresses who likely are going to vote one way or another?
So VoteRiders is a 501(c)(3) organization, which means by law we have to stay nonpartisan to keep our tax status. So we do require that anything sent out with the VoteRiders logo under our sort of letter writing campaigns is nonpartisan. What we do because of our ID focused mission is we filter the lists of voters we're writing to make sure that they are targeting the communities that we know from our research and on the ground experience are less likely to have the ID they need to vote. So this includes young people, this includes students, this includes low income zip codes, this includes Black and Brown communities. Some states where you can't use a student ID to vote, we target zip codes that have large colleges and universities. There are lots of partisan volunteer opportunities out there as we approach the midterms. But at VoteRiders, because of our 501(c)(3) status, if you're looking to do sort of persuasion and party-based work, this might not be a great fit for all of your volunteer activity.
Since it's our personal money that's going into this, and we feel that this election is really important, I think that's a consideration. So thank you for answering it.
Yeah.
And then we have a few questions in the chat that are all about how to actually format the letters. So for example, like what color ink can they use? Are they able to use markers and decorate it? And also if the handwriting, like could it be script or prints, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, I can answer that. And then if Sylvester wants to chime in at all, please feel free. Blue pen is typically recommended because it pops a little more. The text is going to be black, so a blue ink will make it clear that it is sort of like a personal request and sort of get attention. That being said, if you only have a black pen or a red pen or green pen, what have you, I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for us on the VoteRiders end, at least. I don't know about Vote Forward. Recommend decorating the envelopes or the letters. Absolutely. Not required, of course, optional. I did some letter writing with my second grader, and he really enjoyed putting stickers on them. So, as long as it is not a partisan leaning sticker or decoration, absolutely let your creativity shine through. I think the more it looks personal and warm and engaging, the more likely it is to be opened and read.
Joan, did you have another question, or is your hand up from before? If you do.
Yeah, no, it was just, I think mine was just the script or print because I've been told that young people don't understand handwriting any longer. They're not taught it and they can't read it. So is that true?
From
I
personal,
can answer that as the mother to a 10-year-old. She doesn't know how to read cursive. She calls it olden time writing. So my very unscientific personal opinion on that is print is easier. But
I was going to say the same. Yes, I think they stopped teaching script in school a few years ago, so definitely I would recommend printing if possible. Um,
I think it's just easier to read too,
Definitely.
even for those of us who are old enough to read cursive.
And Marilyn, did you have a question?
I do. I have two questions. One is, for the envelope, are we supposed to use black ink? Is that a requirement, or is that not so? Do you know?
For VoteRiders, you can use any color for
I
the
was just thinking
envelope.
of the postal service for the
Oh,
envelope itself.
yes.
Am I making that up? I'm just making that up, I guess.
My understanding is that the Postal Service delivers mail in any
Regardless.
color
Okay.
ink can, or they
Okay.
should, but that is above my pay grade, and I think the
Okay.
Postal
All
Service is
right.
having a
Thank you.
lot of
And
challenges.
I was going to say what Samantha said, that they stopped teaching cursive in school. They stopped teaching parallel parking and in driver's ed. And I live near DC, so it's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm old. Bye.
And there was another question in the chat about if I can send up follow-up emails about the importance of letter writing. In the following emails I send with letter packets, I can definitely send the importance of letter writing and things in these slides. I can also send the slides out to people in the next letter request that I send out. Sylvester.
Thank you.
No, again, I just want to jump in and first of all, thank everybody for the letters that they're writing and echo what Lauren has been saying throughout the event. I did just drop in the chat. I know folks had questions about some of the sample letters to write. I pulled some slides from a presentation we use that are a little bit shorter that can fit in that condensed space, but I do encourage you make those letters your own. Use that space to be creative. You can use the back and also use the envelope. Whatever you think is going to make it pop and make that voter engage with the letter they're receiving. Definitely sad to hear that cursive is no more in these parts. Hate to see that go. Not as mad about parallel parking. Not not as good as that as I should be. But again, just another resource I wanted to point out for folks as they continue writing letters and know that we're here to be a resource for you through the whole letter writing campaign.
Marcia?
I just wondered, on the envelope, some people want you to put a return address for their organization and some don't. So I have VoteRiders for Texas. Do you want a return address or not?
We do appreciate it if you're able to put the return address by state. We have staff in each of those states and they collect the returned letters, and then we take the people off of our outreach lists if it's returned to sender because it's a bad address.
Great, thanks. Is there I assume there's a place here where I will have that address so I can put it on.
Yes. Can you drop that, Sylvester? Do you mind that? It should be voteriders.org/letter info. And then you scroll down to the state you're writing to.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Marilyn, do you have another question?
Sylvester sent out a really good guide that's excellent, and it has the return addresses for all the states. So I don't know if people have the where to get that guide, but it's really good. So just another plug.
No, thank you. You've been awesome, and I've loved all the shout outs, Marilyn. And I echo that it's all because of the hard work that folks like you do every day. But that is a good point. The link that me and Lauren just dropped that has the return addresses for the states that we're writing to. Also, at the top of that page, you'll find our DIY letter writing guide. I know Samantha's going to be helping you all request the letters, and she'll be the conduit for that, but it also has a lot of great resources on there as well that's going to help you again those return addresses for the different campaigns that we're going to be writing to the different states, and then also copies of the letterhead that you can print off as well, and just going to help you throughout the letter writing process. You'll find some more of that sample language that you might want to incorporate into the letters that you're writing. So you can all find that at those links that we dropped at voteriders.org /letter info.
There is a comment in the chat about sending out a video on how to physically write the letters, which I'm more than happy to attempt to do and send out to everyone at BigTent. For now, if there's ever any confusion about how to physically write the letters or you need the breakdown list of the order of what you should do, you're more than welcome to send me an email back to my original instructions, and I'll send you a breakdown list explaining anything in further detail. Paula, do you have a question?
This is just kind of a follow-up to the previous question. For a physical address, return address, because I know I've sent out local letters here, um, and gave my full return address, and a fair sized number of them were returned because people had moved away, you know. So I just asked on the chat for the return address, and you're giving me an email link. Is that where I'll find the physical address, or are you going to furnish a physical address for like VoteRiders?
So if you click that link, voteriders.org/letter info, and you look at the state you're writing to, so if we take Arizona, for example, it
Right.
says Arizona return address. So you
Oh,
just
okay.
click on that and it'll give you the physical address in Arizona, that our staff will collect return letters at.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. And then we're gonna take one more question from Jay Steele, and then we're gonna wrap up. I'll pass it to Kitty to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm still just a little confused about you're sending a template for the letter and you want us to print it out and then only add small comments in blue ink, not rewrite the whole thing in blue ink. Ah, okay.
Yes, not at all. We did all of the heavy lifting for you in terms of the rules for ID voting in a given state. All you need to do is print it out and put a personal note at the top, and get that in the mail.
Super, thank you.
Great. So thank you so much, Lauren and Sylvester, for joining us today, and thank you all for attending and for your part in helping us with our letter writing campaign. I'm going to pass it over to Kitty for some closing remarks, and yeah, we'll wrap up.
This was such a fun conversation and an important one too. And it's just so wonderful to be Red Sox. Yes, Red Sox on a tear. And it's just really important to be in community, even if it is online and in a Zoom room. So I want to thank all of you for joining us today and for your letter writing, committing your time and your energy and your funds to get these letters out to Americans across the country. And of course, we're so honored and thrilled to be partnering with VoteRiders. It's been years, and we're really grateful for the work that they do, and to Lauren and Sylvester for showing up for the BigTent community all the time. It's really amazing. Yep, that is a great baseball stadium. Yeah, I was just at Wrigley last month. It's special. But anyways, I hope everyone has a great summer and keep coming back to BigTent, keep writing letters. And Samantha will follow up with you before she heads off to college next week. And she's a freshman, a rising freshman. It's really exciting, but she's going to keep working with us this fall and make sure that you get all the letters that you need. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And thanks so much for joining BigTent.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And send me emails if you want any more letters. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.